Good morning, everyone. It's good to see you on my screen. Here in New York, we've been having kind of a peaceful spring morning with clouds and sun coming and going. You don't quite know what you're going to get next today. This really is kind of my favorite time of year, early spring. Every day you walk outside and something new has come up. There's a new blossom tree that was bare or just buds yesterday, and you look at it today and it's covered with blossoms that have opened overnight. So this is very much a time of renewal, a season of renewal, and it's celebrated in that way. And I'm not a big fan of winter at all. And yet I have to admit that without the bareness and cold of winter, you can't have a season of renewal like we're having now. They're inseparable from each other. And of course, I'm making some general comments about spring and renewal. But of course, we all know that there really is no such thing as spring. There's only this spring, which has never been experienced before and will never be experienced again. There's only this day, which has never been experienced before and will never be experienced again. There is only this moment, and so on and so forth. So when we talk about death and rebirth, death and renewal, what we're talking about is the ordinary moment-to-moment passage of our lives. Each moment is a death. Each moment is a rebirth. And part of our human predicament is that we're not really down with the facts of life on planet Earth. So we spend a lot of time in what in the Buddhist jargon we call grasping and aversion. We try to hold tight to the things that we like, even though they're passing and fading, even as we grasp more tightly. And we try to push away the things that we don't like. And even though we know, we can see that whether we like what's going on or don't like what's going on, they're part of this inevitable process of death and rebirth, that we must accept the good, the bad, whatever, and flow with it into the next moment, to be reborn again, to see things fresh once again. Next weekend, the Christian community will be celebrating Easter, which is the Christian celebration of death and renewal. And The Bible story tells us pretty much what the Buddhist teaching tells us, where you have Jesus who spends quite a lot of time agonizing in the garden, asking, to be given a pass out of this process. And in the end, giving up, taking up the cross, dying on the cross, and finally being reborn. And I can sort of see the logic of some of the Catholic rituals, the Stations of the Cross at this time of year, where they repeat symbolically the various parts of the story of Jesus's suffering, which eventually he decides to be intimate with. And as a result, something new comes about. In our Buddhist liturgy, we see this in our Fusatsu ceremony and in our precept ceremony. So, one of the things that always kind of bugged me about those ceremonies when I was introduced to them was, they say, okay, now we're going to clear our karma. So we say, all evil karma ever committed by me since of old, on account of my beginningless greed, anger, and ignorance, born of my body, mouth, and thought, now I atone for it all. And I thought to myself, well, and then they say, okay, your karma's been cleared now. And I said, God, that was easy. God, you take on all the evil karma that's ever been committed. You acknowledge your oneness with everything you've been trying to push away your whole miserable life. And you stop doing that, and you acknowledge that it is not separate from yourself. And somehow, magically, that clears your karma. Well, of course, it's not magic. It's ordinary. We're just reminding ourselves that every moment is a new moment. Every moment contains the possibility of doing something in a different way, being more intimate with other people, more intimate with ourselves, more intimate with our practice. In the case of Jukai, being more intimate with the ethical teachings. So it's not like it's a magic wand clearing our karma. Our karma is cleared naturally, moment after moment after moment. But in order to appreciate it, in order to make that the dynamic of our lives, we really have to entertain the idea of stopping this endless clutching of ideas of right and wrong, good or bad, grasping and aversion. And we need to open our hearts and our hands and our minds and allow what is new to come forth, and to guide its coming forth um, based on what we know about the ethical teachings, about the way to be decent in the world. So it's not like we put aside all the teachings that have come down to us, but we realize that they're teachings. They're things that other people have experienced. They're things that we've read in books. They've been looked at in different ways in different historical moments. So I guess this is kind of the opposite of fundamentalism, like someone at some time in the past had the truth, and we have to do it exactly the same way or we're way out of line. I mean, that's how I look at fundamentalism. It's very comforting in a way that tells you, okay, there's a right way, here it is, and you follow all the bullet points on the sheet, and you're going to get the result that you want. But whether you're a fundamentalist or not, eventually you're going to know it doesn't work that way, and you have to make whatever teachings you cherish live in this moment. You have to make them relevant to this life, this human life, this human situation. And of course, we run into this in the koan literature all the time. So there's a kind of a simple koan, or a short one anyway, where about Master Nanchuan, and a monk asked Nanchuan, "Is there any Dharma that has not yet been preached to the people?" And Nanchuan said, "There is." And the monk asks, "What is the Dharma that has not yet been preached to the people?" And Nanchuan said, "It is not mind, it is not Buddha, it is not beings or anything." Oh, I don't know what that monk got out of it. If he were awake, he would have realized that he had gotten everything, that he had fully experienced the Dharma that had not yet been preached to the people, just like each of us experience that Dharma moment after moment of our lives. And it's up to us, since there is no hard and fixed inside and outside, we can say we must allow it to flow into us and experience it fully. But actually, that is not a different thing than allowing it to flow out of our hearts, our lives, inside and outside. Whether the waves are coming into the beach or receding from the beach, it's all the motion of the mighty ocean. So I think this teaching is extremely powerful. It's certainly powerful for me. in these times that we're living in now, because so many of our assumptions, so many of the things that we relied on. I think this is particularly present, for people my age. The world that we thought we knew. Oh, well, gee, what happened to that world? What happened to the world where I could just walk into a restaurant and order a meal and take it completely for granted? What happened to the world where I could, just take the subway down to the Village Zendo and sit in a room with a bunch of other maskless people and chant the Heart Sutra? We see in politics extremely polarized in ways we never really thought we would see. In Europe, we see situations recurring that, in my case, we thought, well, we took care of that just before I was born. I don't have to worry about stuff like that anymore. And this, to me, is all frightening and unsettling and heartbreaking and kind of terrible, and genuinely so. And it doesn't help to be a Pollyanna and say, well, everything will work out for the best. It might or it might not, we don't know. But we do know that this process cannot be avoided. When I was an infant, I could not avoid becoming a child. When I was a child, I could not avoiding an adolescent, and so on and so forth, until I managed to become an old guy. And each of those transitions, like them or not, they each of them required a death and a rebirth as something different. And I'm certainly not looking forward to the next one, but that too will be part of this timeless process of destruction and renewal. Those of us who teach the Dharma probably, like any art form, interpretive or not, the important thing is to find your own voice. So when we look back at the literature, we see that none of these teachers express themselves in the same way. And we look around today and among contemporary teachers, and we see that none of them express themselves in the same way, and we respond to them. Some of them we respond to deeply, some of them we think they're full of it, and that's fine. But the Dharma that has not yet been preached to the people needs to be made manifest as best we can, as the people we are. And there's a longer version of the koan, which I think gets to this very nicely. So this time Nanchuan is the student, and he's visiting the Nirvana master Pai Chang on Pai Chang Mountain. Nanchuan had had his great realization with Matsu, and now he was traveling around checking out his understanding with other teachers. And so Pai Chang, the Nirvana master, asked Nanchuan, is there any Dharma that has not yet been preached to the people? And Nanchuan said, yes, there is. Pai Chang said, what is the Dharma that has not yet been preached to the people? And Nanchuan said, it is not mind, not Buddha, not anything. Pai Chang said, you said it. And Nanchuan said, well, I'm just like this. So what about you, teacher? And Pai Chang said, well, I'm not a master of great understanding either. How would I know whether it's been preached or not? And Nanchuan said, I don't know. And Pai Chang said, I've already preached too much for you. Indeed, he had. The Dharma that had not yet been preached to the people was fully present at each moment of that interchange. And it lived in each moment of that interchange of two old fellows playing with a mud ball. In the same way, every Dharma teacher has the responsibility to manifest the Dharma that has not yet been preached to the people. But of course, when I say Dharma teacher, I mean everyone on the screen. It's not about some kind of special robe or some kind of special understanding. It's about the willingness to let go of the grasping mind, of craving and aversion, the willingness to open your mind to new and maybe painful truths that are coming in. And then to let the Dharma flow from your own breast. We must all preach the Dharma that has not yet been taught to the people, right from where we are, right from who we are, right at this very moment.